After Dad died, everything collapsed like one of the cardboard models I used to build. You try to keep it together. You glue down the corners, but the whole thing just folds in on itself eventually. Mom couldn't afford the house in Henderson, Nevada anymore. Within a month, we were packing everything we owned into the back of a rented U-Haul and heading northwest to Brookings, Oregon. I didn't know anything about the town except that it was near the ocean and it rained a lot. We moved into a small duplex near the highway. It had 2 bedrooms, creaky floors, and a heater that clicked for 10 minutes before doing anything useful. Mom worked almost constantly. She took day shifts cleaning offices, then went straight to night shifts at the Redwood Motel. That left me and Jenna, my cousin, to manage the rest of life. Jenna had dropped out of college in California. It was something about burnout or a toxic roommate situation. I didn't ask much. She came to help us out, but really, I think she needed the reset too. She was 23. She wore ripped jeans and flannels, and she said, "my guy," every other sentence like it was punctuation. But she was the only person who really talked to me since the move, so I didn't mind. I spent most of my time in my room. I built tiny things out of garbage, models, makeshift robots, towers made from toothpicks and glue. My closet was overflowing with materials, wires, cardboard, plastic lids, broken toys, and stripped motors from old RC cars. That Saturday morning, Jenna stood in the doorway with her arms crossed. She shook her head. "You need to organize this crap before it comes alive and eats you," she said. I laughed, barely. "It's organized in my head." "Yeah, well, unless your brain has shelves, we need a box, a big one." We tried Walmart. The ones big enough were like $25. That might as well have been $100 in our world. Jenna scrolled through Craigslist later that afternoon. She mumbled through listings like a detective. "Nope, too far. Sketchy. Ooh, this guy is selling a 50-gallon tote for $5. She clicked on the ad. One photo looked decent. It was big, blue, and dusty. The guy's name was Dennis. His message said it was lightly used and ideal for storage or organization. Jenna messaged him. He replied within 20 minutes. He said we could meet that Sunday evening at 7:40 p.m. at the back entrance of the Safeway on Oregon Street. Not the front lot, but the back where trucks unloaded. Jenna raised an eyebrow. Bit odd, but it's public enough. She made me promise I'd stay in the car. "I'll check it out. I'm serious, Milo. People are weird. Just sit tight." That Sunday, clouds pressed low over the town. It was cold and damp, and the whole place smelled like wet pavement and pine needles. We pulled into the back lot of the Safeway. It was empty except for one crookedly parked white van. No markings. Its back doors were shut tight. He came out a minute later. Gray sweatshirt, baggy jeans. The way he walked, knees stiff, arms hanging strangely, made my skin prickle. Jenna got out and waved. "You the ones for the tote?" he asked. "Yep, you got it." He nodded and opened the van. Inside were tools, gas cans, a rusted lawnmower, and several large Rubbermaid totes. Nothing illegal, but nothing exactly right either. I leaned forward in the car. Something inside the van caught my eye. Shoes. Kids' shoes. Not just one pair, at least 5. All shoved against the van's side like garbage. I texted Jenna fast, "Don't go in. Shoes in the van." She looked at her phone mid-sentence, then straightened up. "We're good, actually. Not big enough. Thanks, though." Dennis just stood there. "It's 50 gallons, says on the label." "Yeah, just not what we're after," Jenna said, stepping backward. Then he tilted his head. Didn't you say your cousin's name was Milo? She hadn't, not once. Jenna turned fast, got in, and locked the doors. I heard her breath catch in her throat as she started the engine. He was watching us, she said. We didn't talk after that. We just drove quiet. Back at the duplex, the light over our porch flickered like it always did, buzzing faintly. Jenna got out of the car first, checking the street both ways. I followed close behind, adrenaline still tingling in my chest. Inside, we shut the blinds and double-locked the door. She paced the living room for a while. I sat on the couch, hugging a throw pillow like a shield. "You okay?" I asked. "No," she said bluntly. "That guy knew your name, Milo. I didn't even mention I had someone with me when I messaged him. How would he know?" "I don't know."
We decided not to tell Mom. If she knew, she'd freak out, quit one of her jobs, and then we'd be back to counting cans of soup for dinner. Jenna kept saying it was probably a fluke, just a creepy dude who guessed something right. That night, I didn't sleep much. Every creak in the house felt louder. At one point, I thought I heard gravel crunching outside my window. I told myself it was the neighbor's cat. The next morning was gray and still. Gloria Whitman, the elderly neighbor across the street, was already outside watering her dead roses with a green plastic jug. She didn't speak much, but she watched everything like a human security camera. I used to think she was nosy. Now I kind of appreciated it. That evening around dusk, someone knocked. Jenna peeked out the peephole, then opened the door a crack. It was Gloria in her pink bathrobe and foam slippers. "You folks expecting someone?" she asked. Jenna frowned. "No, why?" "I seen a man in your backyard, twice now, just standing by the trees. Thought you should know." I swear I felt the blood drain from my arms. Jenna's eyes darkened. "When?" she asked. "Last night, and just a bit ago. Might have been the same fella. Hard to say. Kinda hunched, wore gray. Didn't look like he belonged." "Did you call anyone?" Jenna asked. Gloria squinted. "Figured I'd tell you first, but I will if he comes back." After she left, Jenna locked all the windows. She pulled the baseball bat from Mom's closet and leaned it by the front door. We called the police. They came by half an hour later, 2 officers. One walked the property, the other asked questions. "Could be a deer," one of them said, glancing around, "close to the highway, or someone passing through." "Yeah, right," I wanted to scream. Jenna didn't. She just nodded and said, "Thanks." The next day passed slowly. At school, I could barely focus. I kept checking over my shoulder, convinced someone was following me down the hall. Every time a teacher called my name for attendance, it jolted me. Not because I wasn't used to hearing it, but because now I wondered who else knew it. When I got home, Jenna was already in the kitchen heating up boxed mac and cheese. She didn't say much. Her eyes were puffy like she hadn't slept either. We sat in silence, picking at dinner while some reality show played quietly on the TV. At 9:13 p.m., the doorbell rang. We both froze. Jenna mouthed, "Don't move." She crept to the peephole, then turned and whispered, "No one's there." A chill ran through me. The doorbell rang again, this time twice in a row, rapid. Jenna flung open the door, bat in hand. The porch was empty, but sitting in the middle of the welcome mat was a Rubbermaid tote. Same kind, same size, same dull blue plastic. The label still read 50 gallons in faded marker. It was closed. No note, no markings. "Don't touch it," I said, stepping behind her. Jenna looked around. No car sounds, no footsteps. How the hell? She called the police again. They sent a different officer this time. younger, more polite. Could be a prank, he offered after peeking in the tote and finding it empty. Sometimes, especially to folks new in town, it happens. Jenna didn't buy it. Neither did I. That night, she moved the tote into the garage with gloves on. Then she dragged an old folding chair into my room and slept in it. She said she didn't trust her own room, not with the back window facing the trees. I didn't sleep at all. I just stared at the ceiling and waited for the next thing. Wednesday came and went without incident. It almost felt normal, until around 5:30 p.m. when I went out front to check the mail and noticed a piece of yellow string tied around the handle of our mailbox. It wasn't tape, it wasn't a label, it was just string, knotted tight, like someone had been there and left a signal. I didn't touch it. I backed up and ran inside. Jenna didn't speak when I told her. She just exhaled through her nose, then grabbed her phone and took a picture of it. "We need to go," she said after a minute. "Where?" "Anywhere but here." She messaged Mom. She told her we were going to the library for a while. In reality, we drove to the other side of town and parked in the high school lot. We sat there in the car, windows cracked, Jenna's hand resting on the bat in the passenger seat. "I keep thinking," she said after a long silence, "what if he wrote down the plate number that night or took a picture? What if he's not just some guy trying to sell a storage box? What if he's done this before?" I said quietly. She didn't answer. At 7:02, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message read, "You forgot your box." She stared at the screen for a long time. Then she blocked the number and turned the phone off completely. "I'm reporting this again, and we're leaving town this weekend. I'll figure it out." We didn't go home until almost 10. Gloria was still up, porch light on, flashlight in hand. She waved us down. "Cops came by while you were out," she said. "Check the alley." Guess what they found? "What?" Jenna asked. "Footprints in the mud by your fence. Not fresh, but not old either." We didn't sleep that night. We just sat on the couch with every light on. I tried to read, but I couldn't concentrate. Jenna kept checking the windows, walking slow, the bat always close by. Chapter 5. Saturday morning, Jenna packed a duffel bag. She didn't tell Mom yet. She just said we were going to stay with a friend in Crescent City for a few days, somewhere with more people, more light, somewhere he wasn't. I loaded my backpack with clothes and model parts. As we backed out of the driveway, I glanced down the street. The white van was parked across from Gloria's house. No driver, no movement, just there. "Don't look," Jenna said, turning fast. "Just keep your head down." We drove straight to Crescent City and stayed with one of Jenna's old college friends. It wasn't glamorous, bare mattress, dishes in the sink, but it felt safe. For the first time in weeks, I slept all the way through the night. 2 days later, Mom called. She was panicking. "There was a break-in," she said. "The back window was shattered. The door was open. The police think it was just a kid. Nothing stolen." But the garage, we knew better. When we got home a few days later, the tote was gone from the garage. But Jenna never deleted the photos, the ad, the message, or the image of the shoes in the van. She printed everything and left it in a manila folder marked, "In case something happens." A month passed, no more sightings, texts, no boxes. But every time I walked home from school, I checked every parked van, every corner. And I never answered the door again if I didn't know who it was. That feeling you get when something feels off, that's not fear. It's your body keeping you alive. Whether it's a Craigslist ad, a late-night knock, or a stranger who says your name when they shouldn't know it, your safety matters more than politeness, more than the deal, more than the explanation. no storage box is ever worth becoming one.
Long before I met Mr. Kenny, I was already drowning. Just not the kind anyone sees from the outside. I was 22 and broke. Not metaphorically broke. Not watching my budget. Broke. I had $947 to my name and half a pack of ramen left in Calvin's pantry. Calvin is my cousin, older by 3 years, already working full-time at a sheet metal shop. Already annoyed I was crashing on his couch for just a few days, which had somehow become 3 weeks. We weren't close, but I didn't have many people left to ask. He let me stay under one condition. Don't drag in any weird Craigslist crap. That morning, I opened every gig app on my phone. Nothing. Nobody wanted a guy who dropped out of Lackawanna College after 1 semester and didn't even finish his last warehouse job because they restructured. I was tired of lying in messages, pretending to be someone worth hiring. Then I saw it. Help needed. Light outdoor work. $100 cash. Lunch included. Must be okay with dogs. 3 to 4 hours max. No experience required. Call before 10 a.m. I stared at it for a while. It felt like bait, but I was hungry enough to bite. I called. The voice on the other end was warm, almost like a retired teacher. "Theo, is it? I'm Mr. Kenny. You sound polite. That's rare these days. Thank you for calling." He said it was simple yard work. "Clearing vines, moving old fencing panels," he added. "I make soup from scratch. Don't worry, nothing weird. You'll be well fed." That's when I should have hung up. The fact that he felt the need to say nothing weird. But I didn't because I needed the money. The house was off West Mountain Road, tucked into the edge of the woods. Not isolated exactly, but far enough that if you screamed, nobody would hear unless they were already on the porch. The driveway was gravel, long, with weeds curling in from both sides. His house looked tired. The paint was chipped and the gutters were sagging. A massive dog barked from behind a side gate, loud, hoarse, and chained. Kenny opened the door wearing tucked-in slacks and an iron shirt, like he'd been expecting a guest, not a laborer. "Theo, right?" he said, smiling like we were old friends. "You look young. That's good. Energy matters." I nodded, half smiling. He handed me gloves that looked older than me and pointed toward the overgrown backyard. "Start with the vines near the fence, the ones with the thorns. Just take your time." The dog barked again, and he added, "Don't mind Sherman. He's all noise." I got to work. The gloves were too thin, and the vines were more like brambles, thick, wiry, clinging to my sleeves. Twice I cut my hands. The sting was sharp, the blood quick. After maybe 40 minutes, Kenny brought me lemonade in a glass cup. Not a bottle, not a plastic cup, like it was a tea party. "You can take breaks inside if it gets too hot," he said. "Sherman's chained, he won't bite." But I didn't want to go inside, not yet. Something about the house made my skin crawl. Still, I needed the 100, so I kept working. The sun climbed high and slow, baking the yard in sticky humidity. The dog barked less now, probably bored of me. I had almost cleared half the fence line when Kenny came out again, this time without lemonade. Just questions. "You close with your family, Theo?" he asked, like he was a therapist. "Not really," I said, pulling a vine from under the fence. "Girlfriend?" "Nope." He nodded like that meant something. "Sometimes it's easier alone. That's all right. Not everyone needs someone." He hovered nearby, watching my hands more than the yard. After a few minutes, he smiled. "Make a great chicken soup. Lunch is almost ready." I muttered thanks and kept working, though my stomach was starting to grumble. He didn't go back inside right away. "You ever sleep in your car?" I blinked and stood up. "No? Why?" "Just wondering. Sometimes life gets tight, and you find yourself alone in a parking lot thinking, 'How did I get here?'" I wiped sweat from my face. "I'm good." "Really?" "Of course." He smiled again. It didn't reach his eyes. By noon, I'd finished the fence line and started stacking the old wood by the shed. That's when Kenny called out from the back door. "Come eat before it gets cold." I hesitated. Calvin's warning echoed in my head. Don't go in anyone's house. Craigslist is where caution goes to die. But I was starving, and the yard work was legit so far. Inside, the house was quiet, still. No radio, no hum of a fridge. Just walls that hadn't seen sunlight in years. There were no family photos, no clutter. Just blank beige walls, a thin rug, and a ticking clock that sounded louder than it should. He served soup in a ceramic bowl. Chicken, celery, carrots. Homemade, just like he said. "Don't worry," he said, smiling. "Nothing weird." I didn't laugh. I ate quickly, eyes on the floor, pretending to be fine. "You're good with your hands," Kenny said. "You around more often? Strong back, reliable. I could use someone like." I kept my spoon moving. I really just needed the cash. "Oh, of course, of course." I finished the bowl and stood up. "I should head out soon. My cousin needs the car by 3. His smile faded for the first time. "I thought you needed money." "I do. I'm just on a schedule." His expression was unreadable. "Job either. Hope he's okay. A boy came by 2 months ago, just like you. Didn't finish the..." I didn't say anything. Just moved toward the door. He didn't stop me. Just stood there in the kitchen, hands at his sides, smiling faintly. I left fast, heart hammering. That night, I lay on Calvin's couch staring at the popcorn ceiling, trying to forget the way Kenny said, "I thought you needed money." At 10:42 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. "If you're still hungry, I have another shift. This time, no vines. Just stories." I blocked it. Didn't even reply. The next day, I searched Craigslist again. Not because I wanted to, but I needed to. Rent money, groceries, gas. But there it was. The same ad, same wording. Only now it said, $120 cash. Must be okay with dogs. Repeat applicants, welcome. Something in my chest sank. I flagged the post. That night, I told Calvin. He whistled low and shook his head. "Don't come back from gigs like that. You're lucky, man. Some people..." I asked what he meant. "There's guys out there who look normal, nice even, but they're just waiting. Craigslist is perfect for them. Cheap, quiet, off the books. Who's going to track a missing yard worker? You?" I didn't sleep much after that. Over the next week, I tried to push it down, but something stayed with me. Not fear exactly, not even trauma, just something heavy. I started watching every person more closely, every smile, every ad. I realized how thin the line is between a $100 gig and a headline that starts with "Unidentified remains found." Kenny never texted again, not from that number, but the post kept showing up, sometimes with a different pay rate. Sometimes "must like dogs" was replaced with "comfortable in secluded settings." Each time I flagged it, nobody ever replied to the flag. Craigslist doesn't really do follow-up. It's like screaming into a well. But I kept checking because I needed to know if someone else was going. I wish I could say I found proof, a missing person, a news report. But real life isn't like that.
Sometimes you just leave a house and you know in your bones something was off. I never went back, never replied. But every now and then I scroll through gigs again. Not because I'm broke, but because I can't help it. The ads are always there. Different names, same rhythm. Quick work, cash in hand, lunch included. I don't apply anymore. I got a job eventually, a part-time delivery gig that turned into full-time. I rent my own room now, eat okay. But if you ever find yourself broke, tired, down to your last few bucks, and thinking it's just a few hours of work, I hope you remember this. Some jobs don't pay in cash. Some doors should stay shut. And if someone ever tells you nothing weird before you've even asked, walk away. Not every opportunity is worth the risk.
The turntable on Ridgewood Drive. Bismarck gets real quiet in November. The kind of quiet that makes you notice every creak in the house, every rustle of leaves against the window. I remember that night vividly, not just because of what happened, but because of the way it started. So normal, so routine. I was 19 and broke, community college kid helping my mom hold things together after my dad left. He'd moved to Wyoming that spring with a woman he met at a car show, and everything he didn't take with him, bills, memories, the weight of holding a house together, he left behind for us. I worked part-time at the gas station on Main. The pay was trash. Most weeks, I gave half my check to my mom just to keep the lights on. She never asked, but I saw the late notices piling up on the kitchen counter. We'd been slowly going through the attic, trying to find stuff we could sell. Old furniture, books, collectibles, anything that might get us through Christmas. That's when I found it. My grandpa's old Technics turntable, still in its original box, and a milk crate full of vinyl. Coltrane, Miles Davis, Hendrix, stuff that made me pause. It felt wrong to part with it. Grandpa used to play that music on Sunday mornings while he made eggs and toast. But life is funny like that. You grow up loving something, then one day you realize you'd trade it all for a working radiator and gas money. So I listed it. Craigslist. Vintage turntable with jazz and rock records. $300, pickup only. By the next morning, I had 4 messages. Most lowballed me. One stood out. A woman named Eileen said her husband was a jazz musician. Said he'd treasure the set. She offered $350 without blinking. Claimed it was for his birthday. Said she wanted it to be a surprise. It sounded sweet, honest. We texted a bit. I told her Monday would be better. Mom would be out visiting her sister in Fargo. Eileen insisted Sunday night was the only time they had. My husband leaves for tour early Monday. She said something about that felt rehearsed, but I pushed the thought down. I needed the money. Needed to feel like I was helping, even a little. My mom told me to be careful, to not let any strangers inside. I told her I wouldn't. Around 7:30 that evening, she left for Fargo. I moved the turntable to the front room near the window just to be safe. Phone fully charged, front porch light on. I even texted my friend Blake to joke about it. Hope she doesn't rob me blind for a Coltrane LP, I wrote. If she brings wine and a jazz flute, run, he replied. I laughed, but by 8:05, the laughter was gone. That's when the gray sedan pulled into the driveway. When the car rolled up, my gut did this slow, tight twist, the kind you try to ignore because you don't want to seem paranoid. But something was off. The headlights stayed on too long. The passenger side was dark. Nobody moved for a few seconds. Then a man stepped out. Tall, mid-40s, clean jacket, trimmed beard. He looked normal, which in hindsight was probably the most dangerous part. He walked up to the porch like he'd done it 100 times. Knocked gently, not like someone excited to buy a gift, more like someone checking to see if a door was locked. I opened it halfway. Eileen? He smiled. She's in the car, migraine. I'm her husband, Thomas. Oh, okay, I said, not moving. She told me she'd be the one picking it up. She was going to, but she's laying down. I can just take a quick look if that's all right. I hesitated. He was calm, friendly, no twitchiness, no weird behavior. I stepped back, motioned him in. I kept the door open. That felt smart at the time. The man, Thomas, stepped inside, made a show of admiring the record player. Nice. These are hard to find in good shape. He flipped through a few records. She's going to love this. Technics, Monk, damn. He started asking questions. Too many. Store them somewhere else? Then he looked up. Any scratches on the table? Got more records? What's back there? He motioned toward the hallway. Just bedrooms? I said, stepping slightly in front of him. His tone shifted. A little less casual, a little more curious. You live here alone? He asked. No, I lied. My uncle's in the garage. Really? He said, eyebrow raised. Didn't hear any cars? I felt it then. The flip, the turn in his energy. Friendly curiosity turning into something else. My heart started racing. Then I heard it, a faint tap at the back patio door. He didn't flinch, didn't react. He expected that noise. I moved fast. Uncle Mike, I shouted, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. That name didn't belong to anyone, but it didn't matter. Thomas looked at me like he was recalculating, like he had a decision to make. That second gave me just enough space to bolt. I darted through the kitchen like my life depended on it, because I was suddenly very sure it did. My phone sat charging next to the microwave. I grabbed it and went straight for the cabinet where the home security panel lived. We'd never used it much. Old system. My dad installed it before he left, but I remembered the red panic button. I slammed it. The alarm screamed through the house. It wasn't subtle. It was a full-on siren that could probably be heard across 3 blocks. Thomas froze just for a breath, then turned and bolted through the front door like the place was on fire. I ran after him just enough to lock it behind him. Heart pounding, I peeked through the blinds. He ran back to the gray sedan, got in, and peeled out without hesitation. I watched the taillights disappear down Ridgewood Drive. No Eileen in the car. The police came 11 minutes later. They were calm, methodical, asked me to repeat everything twice. I showed them the messages, the car, the fake name. They told me quietly that this wasn't new, that people responded to Craigslist ads all the time, just to scope homes, check who lived there, figure out who was alone. What saved you, the officer said, was trusting your gut. That and having an alarm system. Still, I didn't sleep that night. My mom came back at dawn. I told her everything, and she cried. Not because she was scared, but because I hadn't told her to stay. The records went back in the attic. The turntable, too. We stopped listing anything on Craigslist for a while. But the part that stuck with me? A week later, I got a call from a detective in the next county. They'd found a gray sedan abandoned outside a boarded-up farmhouse. Inside were power tools, electronics, even kitchen appliances, all stolen. And a printed list. Craigslist ads. Mine was on there, date and time noted, circled in red ink. I didn't ask what else they found. I didn't want to know. That weekend, my mom changed the locks and had a new system installed. We started using Facebook Marketplace instead, only meeting people in grocery store parking lots during daylight hours. I started using a fake name for listings, made a burner email, took a self-defense course with Blake just to have something in my back pocket. Nothing ever came of the incident. No arrests, no follow-up.
The police had enough to file a report, but not enough to charge anyone. Craigslist doesn't verify accounts. And Eileen? That was probably just a name he picked at random. I think about it sometimes, how close it came, how fast it all happened. That night didn't end with anyone getting hurt, but it could have. And what gets me is how normal it all seemed, right until it didn't. The guy was polite, clean, friendly. No red flags until they were all red.
I had pulled a muscle in my back 2 days ago. I'd made a comment about it on a public Facebook post, nothing more than pulled something lifting groceries, 30 is the new 80 type of thing. Harmless, or so I thought. Now I was standing across from a man who shouldn't have known that, shouldn't have known my voice, my injury, or that I lived off Shell Street like he mentioned in one of his earlier texts. "You good?" he asked. I didn't answer. I just said, "My neighbor Luis is inside. He can help carry it." He finally backed off. Fair enough. I got in my car, locked the doors fast, and drove off without looking back. That should have been the end of it. That night, I barely slept. I fed my cat, Scout, and kept checking the blinds like some old crime show widow. Around 9:30, I made tea, tried to watch something dumb on TV. At 10:17, I saw it, a white van, same model, same busted passenger mirror. It rolled slowly past my building, lights off, engine low. I ducked back from the window, heart hammering so loud I could hear it in my ears. I called the non-emergency line and filed a report. The woman on the phone was polite but sounded tired. Did he say or do anything threatening? No, but he knew things, stuff I didn't tell him. Okay, we'll make a note. If you see the van again, call us right away. I didn't know what I expected. Maybe a patrol car? Maybe some kind of confirmation that I wasn't just being dramatic. But nothing came. At 2:13 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "You forgot your change. Want me to bring it by?" I never gave him my number. I stared at the message until the screen went dark. Then I blocked it. Then I threw my phone under the pillow like that would make it stop existing. But it didn't. The next morning, I went straight to Walmart and bought a doorbell camera. Luis, the neighbor across the hall, quiet guy, maybe mid-40s, always wore socks with sandals, saw me fiddling with it in the hallway. "You good?" he asked, just being cautious. I nodded slowly. "That guy in the van." I stopped. "You saw him?" "Pulled up slow last night. I was outside smoking. Didn't like how he looked at your window. You want I can keep an eye out? I'm usually home nights." I didn't know Luis well, but in that moment, he might have been the only person who felt real. I thanked him, meant it. I filed a complaint with Craigslist, but the ad was already gone. Vanished like it was never there. For weeks, every time I saw a white van at the grocery store, parked near work, turning out of a side street, my stomach clenched. I started taking new routes home, kept my phone location off, locked the door behind me even just to take out the trash. I never heard from Eli again, but I don't think he was ever really gone. Not right away. He watched. He waited. And when I said no, he backed off. But not because he respected it, because someone else was watching too. Eventually, the fear dulled. I bought a dresser from a real store. Paid more than I wanted to, but I needed it to feel solid. Not just the furniture, but the choice. Luis kept checking in. Small things. "You good?" Texts. Waving when I got home. He helped me carry up a heavy box one Saturday. We weren't friends exactly, but sometimes you don't need friends. You need someone who sees you. I never got a name for Eli. Never found out if he had a record. But I kept that door camera running every day, and I saved the message he sent, just in case. I still scroll Craigslist sometimes, looking for cheap stuff. But I've learned to ask the right questions now, and more importantly, to listen when something feels off, even just a little. It's never just a little. Scout still sleeps at the foot of my bed. The dresser sits in the corner. It's real, it's heavy, and it's mine. Because the truth is, there's no such thing as harmless curiosity. Not when it comes wrapped in van doors and too many questions. There's no such thing as just furniture. Not when someone's using it to get closer to you. Trust your gut. Silence isn't safety, and no piece of furniture is ever worth your peace of mind.
We live in a world where people think evil announces itself. Creepy eyes, wild hair, dirty clothes. But the truth is, it's the opposite. Danger wears a clean coat and smiles wide. It knocks softly, uses first names, says please. That's what makes it a trap. I still help my mom with bills, still dig through the attic sometimes, but the turntable stays put. Grandpa wouldn't care about the money. He'd care that we're safe. And I'll never forget what the officer told me before he left that night. Craigslist makes it easy to find buyers, he said, but it also makes it easy to find victims. Never ignore your instincts. It doesn't matter how friendly someone seems. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Your safety is worth more than any sale. Always meet in public, never alone. And remember, no transaction is worth your life. The mini fridge on Los Ventanas. People always say you find yourself after a breakup, but they don't tell you how messy that process can be, especially when the relationship you're leaving nearly hollowed you out. By the time I finally left Shannon, I was 33, broke, and scraping the bottom of what little self-worth I had left. She had this way of shrinking me little by little, until I started apologizing for things like watching TV too loud or spending $20 without asking. The last straw was one of those nights where the fight goes in circles for hours and ends in silence so loud it rings. I packed a single duffel and left before sunrise. I didn't even take the coffee pot. The apartment I found east of Albuquerque was the cheapest thing listed with a working toilet. 1 bedroom, beige carpet, ceiling fan that wobbled when you turned it on. But it was mine. For the first time in years, I didn't need anyone's permission to eat cereal for dinner or leave dishes in the sink overnight. That kind of freedom feels holy when you've been without it. Problem was, the place didn't come with a fridge. I spent the first 3 weeks living out of a cooler packed with ice and sandwich meat, trying to avoid food poisoning. My job at the warehouse barely covered rent, and anything I found new was either overpriced or on backorder for months. Facebook Marketplace was a joke. People either ghosted or flaked. So I turned to Craigslist with all its weird vibes and murder mystery energy. I figured if I met in daylight, stayed alert, and trusted my gut, I'd be fine. That's when I saw the listing. Mini fridge, works fine, $60, pickup only. Ask for Nora. Photos showed a white fridge, slightly scuffed but clean inside. It looked legit. Nora responded within the hour, said her uncle would be home and could help since she was handling her dad's medical stuff. The address was on Los Ventanas Lane, west of town. Kinda out there, but not far enough to say no. I almost asked a buddy to come with me, but work ran late and I didn't want to reschedule. The sun was still up. What could go wrong? I pulled into the gravel driveway at 4:50 sharp. The place was exactly what you'd expect. Old trailer, junk in the yard, wind chimes clicking lazily. The kind of rural silence that feels like it's listening. A man stepped out from behind a screen door.
Heavyset, maybe mid-50s, in a Broncos hoodie stained with something that looked like drywall dust. "You here for the fridge?" he asked. "Yeah, Nora said you'd be around." "Name's Dean," he said, holding the door. "It's in the garage. Come on." And that's how it started, with a man I didn't know, a fridge I didn't need that bad, and a part of me I didn't realize was still soft enough to ignore my instincts. The garage was one of those standalone metal jobs, wide enough for a car, with an overhead door that was half open and rattling in the wind. Inside was dim. A single bulb hung from a cord above, swaying gently, making shadows shift like something was breathing. It smelled like sawdust, rubber, and rust. Dean motioned for me to follow, and I stepped in. The fridge was in the back corner, unplugged but clean looking. White exterior, small dent on the left side, but nothing serious. "That's it," Dean grunted, walking over. "My niece moved out. Don't need it no more." I nodded, eyeing it. "Looks good. No mold?" He yanked the door open. "See for yourself." Clean interior, not sparkling, but no funk either. It seemed normal. Dean stood beside it, arms crossed, watching me like he was waiting for a test result. I tried not to act weird, but something was already off. He hadn't asked my name, hadn't offered a price or handshake. He just stood there. Then I saw it, on a workbench near the wall, a folded sheet of paper. Looked like a printout of our Craigslist messages. My stomach dropped when I saw my full name circled in pen, timestamp just beneath it. He hadn't just printed it, he'd studied it. I tried to play it cool. "Oh crap, I think I left my dolly in my buddy's car. He was gonna come help, but he got stuck in traffic." Dean tilted his head. "So, you came alone?" I smiled, keeping my voice light for now. "But I texted him the address. He should be here in 10 minutes. He didn't say anything, just stood there, scratching the patchy hair on his jaw. I was already backing toward the door. "It's only $60, he said flatly. "You sure you want it?" "Yeah, I'll go grab the cash from the car. I'll be right back," I said, voice calm, casual. As I turned, something caught my eye beneath a tarp near the wall. Another fridge, same model, but older. The handle was busted, and there was a dark red stain near the bottom corner. Old, dried. Could have been anything, but my brain whispered otherwise. I didn't wait to find out. I kept my pace steady, didn't run, didn't look back. Just walked briskly, like someone late for a meeting. The air outside felt thick, like it hadn't moved all day. When I reached my car, I unlocked it in a single fluid motion, slid inside, and hit the lock button before I even breathed. That's when I looked in the mirror. Dean was standing at the edge of the garage in the gravel, watching me. Not waving, not yelling, just watching, like he was memorizing the make of my car, the plates, the shape of me behind the wheel. I started the engine, backed out slowly, then turned onto the main road and didn't let myself look back again until I was 5 miles away. I didn't call the cops. What would I say? That a guy gave me weird vibes and had a fridge with a stain on it? Craigslist is full of stories like that. I tried to talk myself down. Maybe Dean was just odd. Maybe he printed the messages because he was old school. Maybe the fridge in the corner really was just dirty. But the feeling wouldn't leave. It stayed with me through dinner, through sleep, through the next day at work. The way he hovered, the way the paper was marked, the second fridge. 3 nights later, I was sitting on the couch half watching reruns when a news alert flashed across my phone. Local teen missing after appliance pickup. Last seen, Los Ventanas Lane. A 19-year-old kid, delivery driver, drove out to a rural property to grab a washer, never came back. The name of the road punched me in the chest. I didn't hesitate that time. I called the tip line, gave them the address, Dean's name, everything I remembered, every detail, down to the Broncos hoodie and the busted mini fridge with the reddish stain. They asked if I was willing to give my name. I said no. I didn't want to be part of it. I didn't want the story following me, but I gave them enough. A week later, I checked the news obsessively. Finally, I found an article buried under local crime updates. Police investigate property on Los Vantones Lane. Residence empty. Listing deleted. Garage padlocked. They didn't find the kid. At least not yet. The article didn't mention a man named Dean or a fridge, but I knew what they were looking for. I knew what I'd walked away from, and I knew how easily it could have been me.
Story 2. Long before I found myself standing in a Wendy's parking lot holding 85 crumpled dollars, I was someone who still believed things had a way of working out. I wasn't naive, just stubborn. I held on to hope the way some people hold on to pride, tight, too tight, until it leaves marks. I'd been working at the same call center for 5 years. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Then came April and reduced hours. Then May and a total layoff. By June, my account balance dipped into a number that made my chest hurt every time I looked at it. And then my son's laptop died. That old-school loaner Chromebook that had barely survived the spring semester gave up completely. Jaime needed it for his summer learning program. He was 10, quiet, thoughtful, always scribbling something in his notebook. He loved tech and hated crowds, and he hated asking for help, especially from me. "I can do it on my phone," he'd said, already trying to act grown when I told him the Chromebook was toast. "You can't write stories on a phone, baby." "I can try." That night, after he went to bed, I sat on our couch scrolling Craigslist. My cousin Sierra had warned me about buying off there. They got killers and scammers on there, Tosh. People getting kidnapped over TVs and couches. You want your picture on the news for a laptop? I laughed, but not because it was funny, because I was out of options. Craigslist wasn't the last resort, it was the only resort. I found the ad at 1:07 a.m. HP Pavilion laptop, light use only, $85. Factory reset, comes with charger, perfect for student use. It looked clean. It said pickup was in Monroe. The guy, Chris G., responded to my message within minutes. "Still available. Moving to Tallahassee tomorrow. Can meet at Wendy's on Pinot at 3:15. I told Sierra. She immediately said, "I'm coming with you." And that's how I found myself 2 days later gripping my purse and trying not to sweat through my shirt in a Wendy's parking lot while Jaime kicked his feet in the back seat and Sierra gave the world her best side eye. The guy pulled up right on time. Gray Nissan, tinted windows, a little dusty. He stepped out in a red t-shirt and jeans, shaved head, sunglasses on like he was still hiding from someone. "Y'all here for the pavilion?" he asked, holding a black laptop sleeve like it was an afterthought. "That's us," I said. I kept my voice calm but firm. Sierra didn't say anything. She just leaned against the passenger door with her arms crossed. Jaime watched from the back seat like he was trying to scan Chris's whole face and pull up a report on him. Chris opened the sleeve and pulled out the laptop. HP, black, thin. It didn't look fancy, but it didn't look fake either. He powered it on. The screen lit up. Windows logo.
The battery said 93%. I used it for online classes during COVID, he said. Factory reset it last week. Just need the cash. Moving out tonight. Got the charger? I asked. He handed it to me without a pause. Standard plug, not frayed. He even plugged it into his car's inverter and showed it charging. You can test it out more if you want, he offered. Sierra finally spoke. Why you selling it so cheap? Chris laughed. Ain't got time to play price games, just trying to clear stuff out fast. It was a solid answer. I counted out the money, 5 20s, a 10, and a 5. He didn't even double check it, he just shoved it in his pocket. Y'all take care, he said, backing up with a quick nod. He pulled off with a dusty screech. I glanced at Sierra. Well, I asked. I still don't trust it, she said. Here, hope it helps your kid. It boots, and he didn't try anything stupid. Let's get out. Jaime held that laptop like it was made of glass the entire ride home. The first 2 days were golden. Jaime opened the thing before he even took his shoes off. He found a way to install his writing program. He even pulled up a free typing tutorial. He wrote a short story, 10 pages long, about a robot who wanted to be a poet. I watched him tap away at the keys and remembered what it felt like to see your kid light up from the inside. You okay, Mom? He asked that night after dinner. Yeah, baby, I said, just happy. By the second night, he was emailing his cousin and researching space facts again. I started to think maybe Craigslist wasn't so bad after all. Maybe people like Chris were just trying to get by like the rest of us. Then came day 3. I was folding laundry when Jaime walked out of his room slowly, laptop in both hands, face pale. Mom, what is it? It just shut off, then came back. Now it's asking for something, a BitLocker recovery key. I frowned. What's that mean? He turned the screen to show me. Plain blue screen, white letters. Enter BitLocker recovery key to unlock this drive. We tried rebooting. Same message. I Googled it on my phone. Looks like it's a security thing, account. Can we call him? Jaime asked. Needs a key tied to the original owner's Microsoft. I tried. Disconnected. His Craigslist page was gone. We drove to a local computer shop. The tech guy, a tired college kid with bitten nails, glanced at the screen and gave us the kind of look doctors give in movies when they know something is terminal. Yeah, you're locked out, he said. Happens a lot. People sell off corporate laptops or stolen ones, and the system kicks in later. Recovery keys are only available to whoever originally set it up. How much to fix? Maybe 150, but even then, no guarantee. I didn't even have 50. Jaime didn't cry. He just nodded and handed me the laptop like it was already dead. We were quiet the whole ride home. Sierra called me that night. I told her what happened. We should have checked more, she snapped. Damn, trusting, made him log in, made him show ID. We were too. I just wanted it to be real, I said. The silence hung there for a long time. 3 weeks passed. I worked late braiding hair, took extra DoorDash shifts, and skipped lunch more than once. I found an old Kindle tablet and tried to get Jaime's work to run on it. It was slow, but he made do. He always made do. Then on a Tuesday, Sierra texted me a screenshot. Craigslisting. Dell XPS, light use only, $90. Moving the Savannah tomorrow. Can meet at Wendy's lot on Pinot. Different name, different photos, same language, same scam. I stared at the screen for a long time, not sure if I was angry at him or at myself. I'm reporting it, Sierra said. I didn't stop her. But even if they caught him, the money was gone. Jaime's summer program was almost over. We'd missed our shot again. Sometimes when I open my closet, I still see the laptop. It sits there tucked under a stack of towels, a monument to what happens when hope meets hustle and gets caught in the middle. I didn't throw it out, not because I can't let go, but because I won't forget. Not what it cost me, not what it taught me. I've learned to ask more questions, to trust my gut even when it's inconvenient, to check serial numbers, to make sellers log in, to get receipts even on a parking lot deal. And I've learned that when you're broke, everything feels like a lifeline. Every deal, every job, every maybe. But sometimes that rope is wrapped around a hook. I don't hate Chris G. I don't even know if that's his real name. Maybe he needed the money, just like me. Maybe he didn't care who he hurt. Doesn't matter. What matters is what I do next. I saved again, bought Jaime a refurbished laptop from a certified store 3 months later. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. He's writing again, says he wants to make video games someday. I told him he can do anything, as long as he keeps his eyes open. That's the moral of it all, I think. Hope is not a bad thing, but hope without caution, that's how people fall. And next time, I'll bring more than cash and company. I'll bring questions, I'll bring receipts. Because this world doesn't owe you fairness. Sometimes it only gives you lessons.